getting started, so please take seat. Good, good, good. Are we on the live stream? All right.
All right, let's get started. Welcome. This is CocoaHeads number 130. For those of you that don't know me, which will be many of you, because I haven't been around in quite a while, I'm Pete Goldsmith. Thank you. I am your MC for this evening. As you know, Jesse handed over the reins to the community, and the community has been rotating through different MCs and different volunteers, and this entire night couldn't be put together without those volunteers. My MCing definitely couldn't be put together without those volunteers. Some of you may know I've been very sleep deprived with my little one who's teething, and I got to this very last minute.
Do we have pictures of the little one?
We do not have pictures of the little one. That can be arranged. I'll try and put that together. My wife got him his first coding book today. He is 6 months old. Alrighty. So, the program for this evening, how this is all going to run. This is going to take 10 minutes. We are then going to have our first presentation by Yuma. Yuma is 12 years old. 12. That's going to run for 30 minutes. Then after that, we have a presentation by Gerald. Gerald's been around CocoaHeads for a little while. He's also going to defy reality, talking about SCENEKIT. We're going to have a break and question time. After that, we're going to have some interviews. I'm going to be interviewing Tony Arnold, Sean, and Nabila. Some of you will know who those people are, and some of you might not know some of those individuals. I really enjoy podcasts that talk about different developers' origin stories and how they got into tech, how they got into the role that they're currently doing, and I'm looking forward to asking these individuals some questions. After that, there's going to be a wrap-up, and we are going to go, to my understanding, this place is over there? Straight across the road. Can't get lost. If Prasanna was here, he would get lost. Upcoming events. We have got the Hack Night on Wednesday, the 16th of October. I can't read that, that's too far away. We've got the Drinks Night on the 29th of October. Distinction. Hack Night, no alcohol. Drinks Night, no hacking. 4th of November, we have NS Breakfast at Pearson & Murphy, 7:30. That's right. Excellent. Saturday, the 9th of November, Melbourne GDG is running a DevFest conference, so the normal GDG meetup is not running in October. There'll be a joint meetup with CocoaHeads at the end of the year. That sounds good. But on the 9th of November, there is the DevFest conference for GDG.
What is GDG?
What? Challenging me, Matt. It's the Google developer group, yes? Sweet. Thursday, the 14th of November is the next meetup. Sean Woodhouse will be running and emceeing, and he'll do a very smooth job. He has a little bit of experience running CocoaHeads. For more information on the upcoming events, there will be these links posted by the Twitter account. We now run into housekeeping. Bathrooms are through that door, and then keep going left, straight ahead, and then at the end to your right. SOS. Emergency. In case of emergency, follow the emergency signs. Oh, what's the note about photography? take it, don't take it?
Pictures will be taken, and so if you don't want your pictures to be published on the CocoaHeads website, let us know and we will make sure you're not in the pictures.
Thank you very much. Has anyone shipped anything in the last month? Excellent. What have you shipped? Do you want me to run around with a microphone?
This one is up.
Hello. I shipped my second app, Record Me with transcription, 60 language support. So it's in the App Store now.
Excellent. Nice. I believe you posted on CocoaHeads.
Yeah.
Excellent. Has anyone else shipped anything? Could be a gist. No? Yes? Thank you.
I shipped a update to my Android app, which is something I probably shouldn't say here.
No, it's welcome. It's welcome.
It's just a game,
Nice.
AFL footy game.
Awesome. What's the name of the game?
Footy Stars and AFL footy game.
Awesome. Very descriptive. Sweet. Has anyone else shipped anything? Yes.
Sorry, that's me first, then I pass to you, okay? Thank you all. I shipped an update to my apps in App Store called RiskTaker. It's a cybersecurity risk assessment app for practitioners.
Nice.
Thank you.
I have two new apps at App Store. After 1 month of delay first time, it was really tough, crucial. I wanted to give up, but eventually they were published. And I have two more coming up on macOS. For some reason, they still have some troubles, but hopefully we'll overcome them.
Nice. Excellent. All right. And I believe, yes, Apple has shipped 15 new betas in that time period. Oh, I sped up the animations that Jet did previously. All right. Hiring and looking for work. Hands up if you're looking for work or hiring. And I will scan the room from this side to that side. Hands up. Excellent. The man who shipped the app. We'll start with you.
Looking for work.
Looking for work? And you've shipped an app. That's a great start. And you're at CocoaHeads.
Any kind of work, actually. iOS development. Full-time is better, but if not, then part-time or contract is fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I'm going on holidays, so I'll be back in December, so I can start from December.
Excellent. Anyone else hiring or looking for work?
Hi, my name's Ronak, and I'm also looking for a full-time iOS dev job, junior level.
Excellent. Sweet. Anyone hiring? I'll take it up with a 15-minute REA spot. So yeah, for those that don't know, I'm Pete Goldsmith and I work for realestate.com.au. We are looking for iOS developers in all roles. Come chat to me afterwards. I'll point you at our careers site that has pictures of me on it now. Scary. All right. Yes, crucial. Oh no, I can't slide. Don't forget the jobs on Slack. In our Slack, we have a jobs channel dedicated to this very conversation. All right, very important is our code of conduct. We want everyone here to feel welcome and safe. If anyone is feeling unsafe or spots any undue behavior, please follow up with myself or anyone with a red dot. Reach out to those people, and yeah, we want everyone here to have a really good time and enjoy their time at CocoaHeads. Questions. So this is some notes about questions. Whoa, oh, come on. New format. During the presentation, we won't have questions. Immediately at the end of the presentation, we won't open it up for questions. What we will have is at the end of presentations, the block of presentations. This evening there will be 2. At the end of that block, we will disperse, have a break, and then you can approach the individuals and have one-on-one time and ask questions to them directly. This makes it faster and easier on the speaker. I love this change. Name tags, so organisers, those with the red dots, chase those people, not me. I do have a red dot, but yes, I'll be deferring all questions to Renaud. And if you're new to CocoaHeads, you've got a blue dot, make them feel welcome. Volunteers. CocoaHeads is constantly looking for volunteers, help with the meetup page, PR to the website, doing this, being a mentor, and help with setup of the room. Constantly looking for volunteers. CocoaHeads does not get done by magic. There is a lot of work that goes into CocoaHeads that is very much appreciated. And yeah, if you want to help out, you can help out a very little bit, or you can play a key role. Join us on the Volunteers Slack channel, where the previous month you would have seen me in the last week ask 20,000 questions. These are the key people that have helped me in the last week. They are crucial to making this event happen. And always looking for presentations to be submitted. Again, reach out to the speakers channel on Slack. Juniors are welcome. We have a dedicated slot each month for any junior presentation. We want to hear how you got into iOS, your first tutorial that you picked up from Ray Wenderlich, your first time mucking around with SwiftUI and you couldn't get it to compile because it was something about inference was too hard. Join us again on the speakers channel at Slack. Major sponsor, Cognizant. They are the major sponsor of this event the entire year. They help pay for the beer and the drinks, so does Domestic Cat, Itty Bitty Apps, and Latitude Financial Services. Big clap for those guys. And the venue sponsor, YBF. They are the physical premises, and we thank them very much too. All right, presentations. So, for the first presentation this evening, Yuma is 12 years old. You can come up here. I'll continue speaking for a small moment whilst you sit up. You can take over the Apple TV. Now, for those of you that don't know Yuma, he's 12 years old and he went to WWDC in 2017. And at 2017 WWDC, and that was the year of iOS 11, Xcode 9, and that's where they announced ARKit. And he has been prolific in posting videos to YouTube and coding, and has attended every WWDC since. 12 years old, I was riding my bicycle up and down dirt road and definitely wasn't coding yet. So yes, tonight Yuma is going to give us a presentation about using ARKit, specifically the RealityKit APIs, and yeah, very much looking forward to it. Big warm welcome to Yuma.
You need to put that close to your mouth.
All right, I'm just setting up a B and yeah. All right.
No rolling off stage.
Yeah. I'll just put this right here, and I'll be. I'm good. Let me play. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Yuma Sorianto. And first of all, good evening everyone, and especially the people who are watching the live stream. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on wherever you are. And also it's great to be speaking here today. And so some of you may be asking me, why is this kid speaking now? Like, have the coordinators run out of speakers and they've started using children for teaching adults? Well, I have no idea, but oh well. It also turns out I'm an iOS app developer, and I'm a WWDC scholarship winner from 2017 to 2019. And I've also made 9 apps on the App Store, so you can see my apps over here. And also one of my games called Let's Stack AR won Game of the Day on the App Store. And also, thank you. And you may have also seen me on the App Store too. Anyways, I'm 12 years old, and I get this asked a lot, but there we go, I'm 12 years old. As you see, I've also been quite interested in augmented reality. And I also have a tutorial channel on YouTube called Anyone Can Code. And I also share my experiences with making iOS apps, and I also teach people, children and adults, how to make iOS apps using Xcode. Anyways, let's talk about augmented reality. So first off, Apple has made a few technologies. So as you may know, there's ARKit, which is really new. Oh, no, not really new. It's 2 years old. And then after that, there's RealityKit and there's Reality Composer. And RealityKit is built on top of ARKit, and they've added some new features while also making it simpler to make AR experiences. And Reality Composer is an app which helps you create AR experiences visually. Anyways, let's do a demo. So I'm going to show you guys around Reality Composer and RealityKit. And just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a professional, so my code may not be as efficient or clean, but at least it works. Anyways, we're going to make a simple Animoji using face tracking. And let's start by opening Scratch. Actually, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to use Scratch. It's a good program, but I'm not really an expert. And anyways, we're here for Xcode, so let me just open up Xcode. So let me exit, and all right, so here we go. I have Xcode open, and I am gonna just create a new Xcode project. And I believe you guys have had experience with you've had some experience with Xcode, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna tell you all the details about Xcode, and I'm not gonna talk about Reality Composer, or I'm not gonna talk about the details of Reality Composer since we don't have too much time. But anyways, after this event, I'll also be uploading a tutorial video on how to make RealityKit apps on my YouTube channel. Anyways, so I'm choosing the augmented reality app template under iOS, and I'm just gonna name this app Duck Animoji. And also down here, you can see that there's this drop down here, which is named Content Technology. So RealityKit is a new option, so I've already got that selected, and I'm just gonna click Next. And then after that, I'm just gonna hit Create. And there we go. So our app is open, and I'm just gonna go straight to experience.rc project. So experience.rc project is a file for making Reality Composer experiences. And I'm gonna open this in Reality Composer, as you can't edit these Reality Composer projects in Xcode. Anyways, we have Reality Composer open, and I'm just going to show you how to navigate Reality Composer. So if you just click and drag, you can look around. Using 2 fingers and dragging, you can just pan around, and you can just pinch to zoom. Anyways, over here's an inspector, and here you can change the anchor type. So you have horizontal, vertical, but I'm just gonna leave this on horizontal for now. And down here is a physics. And you can see that there's this material here, and this changes the material of a ground. And basically, the material is like, let's say you want to make the ground feel like ice. So then if you moved an object which was on the ground, then it will just start sliding everywhere. And down here, you can change the gravity. I could probably lower this if I wanted to, or add some more gravity. I'll just change it to here. And if I select on the cube, you can see that more things will appear. So you can see that there's 3 arrows. Just use them to drag the cube around on its axis. And I'm just gonna lift this up. Also a ring, which changes depending on where you're looking, it depends on which angle you're looking at the cube from. So here, if you just click on and on the cube and on the ring and you just spin around, you can just rotate the cube, and if you click and drag on the ring and you just move your cursor towards or away from the cube, then you can scale it. And here you can just do some fine tuning. Here you can change the material. So let's say you want to make this look like gold. So now it looks like gold. And of course here you can fine tune the height and width of the cube, and you can even change the bevel radius, just like this. And then down here is the physics, and this is the fun part. And so if I click participates, that means it's going to collide with other objects. And in motion type, I can make this fixed or dynamic. So dynamic means that it will be affected by gravity. And down here, you can of course change the material of the physics body, and this is the collision shape. And yeah, you can change the collision shape too. But if I go up here and press the play button, then the cube will fall. Anyways, over here, you can here are all the scenes, and I can rename the scene, and renaming the scene is very useful if you want to go ahead and load the scene from Xcode. If you have multiple scenes, then you load them by its name. And what else is there? So, up here you can add in some objects. And if I scroll down here, you can see that there's a bunch of objects made by Apple, and these are all USDZ files. So if I scroll down and just drag this into the scene, then I can, you can see that there's a new object, which is a rocket. And you can, of course, import your own USDZ files. So if I click on the head.usdz file, then of course you have this duck head, and I can drag this too. Anyways, that's all I have to explain, or that's all I have to say for RealityKit, Reality Composer. And I'm just going to quit Reality Composer for now, and I'm just going to move this aside. And over here, you can see that I've already gone ahead and worked on a duck, which I made in Reality Composer. And, oops, I think Xcode crashed. Let me just open this back up. And let me try again. There we go. So I've dragged in the RC project, and I'm gonna delete this experience file. So I'm gonna move this to trash, and there we go. So if I open this in Reality Composer, then you can see that I have this duck here, and of course the duck head and both beaks are different objects. As well, if when we do the Animoji, I'm going to make it so the beak will rotate. So if I open my mouth, then the duck's mouth will open, or duck's beak. Did it quit? Oh no, it's still here. Okay, never mind. So as you can see, I can drag this, and these are separate. And one really cool thing about Reality Composer is, of course, you can open up Reality Composer on your iPhone. And so if I open Reality Composer, and if I click Edit on iOS, this button here, then you can see that my phone appears, and if I press on this and accept on my phone, here we go. You can see that we have a scene here. And of course, I can edit all these objects. But there's this button here, which is AR, which is called AR. And basically, it's an AR preview. So you can see that the duck is on my head, or I have turned into a duck, or a cross between a duck and a human. And I, of course, drag these around. So you can edit these objects in AR if you don't think something should be there or it should be in a different location. And anyways, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to just leave this open. And note that this is called an emoji. So if I go to View Controller, you can see that I should have this error here, and that's because it's trying to get from a different file, which we already deleted. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to delete this constant, and I'm just going to replace this with, I'm just going to add in a variable called duck anchor, and this is going to be duck of type duck experience dot emoji. And so, as you can see here, this is actually the type is actually the scene that we made. So, as you can see, the name is called Animoji, and Animoji is in here, and duck experience of file is also here. So when we set the variable duck anchor, we actually have to do a do catch statement. So I'm gonna here I'm just gonna print error if something happens, which isn't meant to happen. Hopefully not. But anyways, I'm just going to set duck anchor to duck experience dot load Animoji. So this means that we're just going to load the Animoji scene. And I'm going to add in the duck anchor. And there it goes. So we've added this duck anchor into the AR view. And actually, you might be wondering, oh, why is this called duck anchor? Well, imagine the duck anchor is a face anchor, because this anchor type is face. And anchor contains all of our objects. So you could think of the scene as an anchor. And anyways, I'm just going to change this function to view will appear, just because I want to add in a face configuration, because I want to use the phone's true depth camera. So that means that I'm going to have to set the configuration, and actually it's going to be an ARKit configuration, because like I said before, RealityKit is built on top of ARKit. So if I import ARKit, and let me just change this to view will appear, and I'm going to pass an animated, then I will create a constant called configuration or config, and I'm going to call this I'm going to make this an AR face tracking configuration. After that, I'm going to do AR view dot session dot run configuration, but I'm only going to pass in the config. So as you can see here, this code is actually kind of similar. Yeah.
Bump up the font size. If you bump up the font size.
The file size?
Yeah. Command Shift plus. If you do that, you're gonna get bigger fonts.
Oh, all right.
A bit more. There you go.
Okay. Good. So I'm going to change, this config here is setting the configuration and running the configuration is actually quite similar to doing it in ARKit. And after that, I'm just going to do arview.session.delegate equals self. And this is going to be an AR session delegate. And after that, I'm just going to add some more variables. So I'm going to create a variable called allows quacking, and that's going to equal true. And basically, what we're going to do is, if the duck, or if my mouth opens, or if anyone's mouth opens that's in the camera's view, then basically the duck's going to quack. And also, the duck will also match its beak's rotation to the mouth. And actually, speaking of quacking, I'm going to go back into Reality Composer and open up behaviors. And it's this button here, by the way. And here you can see that there's a list of behaviors here, but there's no behaviors. So I'm gonna click plus, and behaviors are pretty much actions that are caused by a trigger. So I have scrolled down and selected a custom trigger, or custom behavior. So you can see that there's a trigger and action sequence. So action sequence is what we want to do, trigger is when we want to do it. So if you click on trigger, or the box here, then we can scroll down to notification, and basically what this does is Xcode alerts the scene that something's we want to quack, and then it'll trigger the actions. So I'm going to set the identifier of this to quack, and then up here in the action sequence, I'm going to click the plus button, and I'm going to play sound. And I'm going to choose an audio clip, and this is going to be a quack sound. Yeah, you just heard it, and that's an audio recording of me quacking. That was like when I was 9, so it's quite old, but it's good enough. I've imported this quack sound, and you can do that by pressing the import button. And also I need to select the affected object, so where this sound is coming from. And of course, it's coming from the beak. So I'm just going to select the beak. And also, one more thing we have to do is click the plus button, scroll down, and click the notify button. And the notify button will just notify Xcode that something has happened, or in this case, that this behavior has finished. So once this behavior has finished, then what we're going to do is we're going to set allows quacking to true. Because when we quack, the allows quacking variable will be false. And so that means that the duck can't quack, because if we open our mouth for longer than a frame, which is pretty much certain, because no one can open and close their mouth in one frame, or else you have superpowers. Basically, we don't want the duck to keep quacking every single frame, and so that's why we're setting allows quacking to false. So it's like a safeguard, so the duck doesn't keep quacking and the speakers won't break. And also, I'm going to add some other variables called beak top, which is an entity. So the type entity is pretty much means an object. So this is an entity, this is an entity, everything is an entity. And so I'm also going to create another variable called beak bottom, and that's going to be another entity. And so we're creating these variables because we want the duck's beak to open and close. And that's all the variables we really need. So I'm going to add some other variables like beak top, and that's going to equal duck anchor dot dot find entity, and that's going to be, if I open up a properties tab, you can see that this is named beak top and this is named beak bottom. So this is going to be beak top, and I'm going to force unwrap this because we know it's right there and it's not going to disappear. And there's also beak bottom. Oh, actually, why am I doing var? I need to set the variables, and that's going to be duck anchor dot find entity named beak bottom, and that's going to be also an exclamation mark. And one more thing that we have to do is we have to handle a case where the quack is finished. So we're just going to do duck anchor dot actions dot dot notifications dot dot actions dot did I set no, I didn't set the identifier for notify action. So that's finished quacking. And all right, so if I redo, I need to save. And if I just duck anchor dot notifications, actions dot finish quacking. If I just reload controller, maybe it might work. Yeah, there we go. Finish quacking dot on action equals, and this is going to be a closure. So, and the closure will contain one property, and that's a specified entity. So in here, there's affected objects, and I don't want this to affect that. So I don't want any affected objects because I don't want to pass any objects into Xcode. Because if I do, well, I can, but it's not really needed because all we have to do is just set allows quacking to false. All right, that's all we have to do, and now I'm just going to do session did update frame. So now what we're going to do is the quacking. So what I'm going to do first is create a variable called face anchor, and that's going to be of type AR face anchor. And I'm going to make this an optional in case we don't find any, just in case we don't find any face anchors or any faces. And what we're going to do now is we're going to loop through all the frames, or loop through all the anchors. So I'm just going to do for A in frame.anchors. So frame.anchors just gets all the anchors that it has found, and then after that, I'm just going to do if let anchor equals A as an AR face anchor. And so I'm just checking if the anchor is a face anchor. And once that's done, then I just do face anchor equals anchor. And now I'm going to do a guardlet to make sure that we found a face anchor, but also get the value of if the mouth is open or half open or whatever. And I'm going to do guardlet draw value. And this will make sense in a moment. So if I do face anchor dot blend shapes. So blend shapes are pretty much, blend shapes is pretty much a dictionary with over 50 items, and in each of these items are different parts of your face. So let's say I select draw open, and then it will grab a number from 0 to 1, which is actually really just means 0 is your mouth is closed and 1 is your mouth is fully open. And I'm just going to do dot float value because I want to convert this to a float, because by default this is an NS number. There we go. I'm just going to close this. And so what we're going to do now is check if the draw value is more than or equal to 0.8, and we also allow quacking. And if that's so, then I'm going to turn allows quacking, I'm going to set allows quacking to false, and I'm also going to notify the scene that we're going to quack. And what we're going to do now is duck anchor dot actions dot, oh no, not actions, dot notifications dot quack dot post. So remember that the identifier for quacking is quack. And so what we're doing is just notifying Reality Composer that we want to quack. And one final thing before we can run this app is create a beak rotation, a constant called beak rotation. And that's going to be a rotation value for the beak. Now, the beak value is in radians, so it's going to include pi. So I actually have this notebook here, just in case I forgot the, just if I forgot what rotation I want to do. And someone said dot pi or whatever, and that's true, but I have to do something else too. And so if it's, so I'm going to do draw value times 0.05, just so I limit the draw value so it's not 1, and I'm going to do times dot pi, just because this is in radians. So after that, I'm going to top beak, or beak top dot transform dot. I'm not sure I understand. Well, I don't know what Siri wanted to say, or thought I was going to say. So big top dot transform dot rotation dot, let me scroll down, there is vector dot x, and that's going to be minus beak rotation. Because, well, one has to go up, one has to go down, because both beaks can't go up and both beaks can't go down. That's just how beaks work. And after that, I'm going to do beak bottom dot transform dot rotation dot vector dot x, and that's going to be beak rotation. There we go. That's all we have to do. So I'm just, yeah. Oh yes, the anchor point. That's a good question. The anchor point. Oh, this doesn't show you the. Well, basically, by default, for this beak, yeah, so it's already 0, 0, 0, and the beak anchor is somewhere around here. So it's just, so its pivot point is going to be somewhere right here. And anyways, I'm just going to run the app, and let me, there we go. Let me just, all right, so it's running. Also, I just wanted to say something really quickly. For some reason, when I close my mouth, like sometimes the draw value becomes a minus. So I don't know why. Maybe my mouth is somehow inverted, like a split second, but I have no idea. So anyways, so you can see that the beak is rotating. And then if I open my mouth, I quack. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. So let me just get up and you can see me and the audience. Just gonna take a quick selfie. And there we go. But it's not perfect. So if my mouth is still open, then it'll just keep quacking. So is the sound working? Hmm? Oh, yes. Oh, right. Right, yeah, so I have to change this to true. No wonder, thanks for picking it up. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so I'm not a professional, so. Yeah, anyways. So it's kind of like an alarm when you keep quacking, but anyways, yeah, that could be fixed. I have enough time. I'm just going to stop running, and I am going to,
Test, test, yeah. Cool, all right. All right. Hello, I'm Gerald. I'll also be talking about RealityKit today, although I guess my talk will be a bit more basic than Yuma, who did an awesome job on the face tracking stuff. So this is RealityKit, AR in easy mode. A bit about myself. My name is Gerald Kim. Twitter handle Gerald_Kim. I currently work as an iOS developer at Redbubble, working on the iOS app. And I have a kind of stale blog, arplaykit.com, where I do some experiments in AR. All right, so what is RealityKit? So like Unima said, it's a high-level framework for working with AR. It's built on top of ARKit, and it basically, before you used to have to deal with like SCENEKIT and SPRITEKIT, and like you had anchors and stuff attach SCENEKIT or SPRITEKIT objects to it, but now this is making it a lot easier. RealityKit works well with Reality Composer, like we saw in Yuma's presentation, but you don't actually need Composer. You can actually just do Reality itself and import it via like USDZs and primitives and things. And Reality Composer, we saw, it's kind of actually like, I don't know, the way it feels like to me is it's like interface builder for AR, so it makes it really easy to build things visually. But for my talk today, I won't talk too much about Reality Composer. We'll just go into more of like the basics of just RealityKit itself. Cool. So how does RealityKit work? So like we start with an AR view, which is a subclass of UI view, and this is brand new in RealityKit, which is also iOS 13 only. So yeah, brand new. An AR view has a scene associated with it, and for every AR view, it includes an AR view includes all sorts of goodies for you, like the camera view, the AR detection and things. And with the scene, what we can do is we attach anchors, and we can attach like lots of entities. So for each anchor, like we saw with the face anchor, or you can have anchors on like horizontal planes or the walls and stuff, and then you can attach as many entities as you want. Actually, you can also stack entities on top of each other, and entities are things like models and stuff. So what exactly is an anchor? Anchors are both in ARKit and RealityKit. And RealityKit is just kind of, it wraps it up in a nice, slightly easier to understand type of thing. And anchors are things like, we're talking about plane detection, face tracking, body tracking, which is new in ARKit 3, iOS 13. Image tracking. We can detect up to 100 images. And so this is kind of like, if I have a picture of a cat or something, and I can make AR content appear on top of it. So if you remember AR from before, it's kind of like QR codes, but just fancier. Object tracking as well. So this is, if you pre-scan a 3D object, you can have AR content appear around it. So if you saw the demos before, this is like that Lego set. You have the Lego set, and you point your AR camera at it, and it comes to life. You can also choose to put anchors in arbitrary positions. So it's like, I want to put an anchor 3 feet in front of me, or 1 meter actually. You can do anchors that way. And then raycast. So raycast is something that's new in ARKit 3, iOS 13. And this is like, basically if I tap my screen, I shoot a laser at like the ground or the wall or something, and it knows it's hit the wall or floor, and I can put AR, like 3D content and stuff on top of that. So if you've dealt with ARKit before, we used to have to do this with hit testing, but now we do raycasting. So what is an entity? Entities are models that we can load from UCZ files. We also can get it from .reality files, primitives, like spheres, cubes, that kind of stuff. And models can have components, it's like physics and collisions for like 3D models. Technically, anchors are actually considered an entity, and they have like a property called like, I think it is anchorable or something like that. But you can mix and match components. So like if you don't really want physics, you can actually take that away. And the nice thing about entities is RealityKit auto handles things like realistic lighting, the rendering. So like if you have like a bright light next to your thing, you can actually see it reflected. some of the things they talked about in the new ARKit 3 is like you can have motion blurring, the camera grain so it looks even more realistic. So all that is included for free. So whatever happened to SPRITEKIT and SCENEKIT? In RealityKit, you can't actually add them. If you want to work with SPRITEKIT and SCENEKIT, you have to go back to working with ARKit directly. The RealityKit is like a whole new level above, so they're not really compatible with each other. So like model entities, which is like an entity of a 3D model, they only really support loading from USDZ files, and you can't really use SCN files. So if you are dealing with 3D objects and you have a pipeline that's dealing with SCENEKIT and stuff, you're going to have to start over. Other nice goodies for RealityKit. So they have built-in support for multiplayer experiences. Apple had a really good talk about RealityKit where they kind of showed it off, and it was surprisingly easy to do the multi-player connectivity and stuff. Built-in support for collaborative mapping. So this is like if you have two people in a room and they are like pointing at different things in the room, they'll know about each other's things that they're pointing at. Async loading of assets is super easy mode. So before, like you used to have to try to dispatch async and load things and then worry about, oh, I have to put it into the same background queue so I don't mess with my GPU rendering and things. So now it's just into entity loading. And then, like I mentioned before, the built-in rendering effects. So let's do a quick demo. Cool. I'm not quite confident to do live coding session like Yuma did, but I have a pre-built project here, which shows off some of the which has RealityKit stuff, and can, I guess, show off some of the different aspects of it. So we'll start with, this is like a Swift UI view, and so I'm just building my interface here where I have my AR view, and then just I'm placing some buttons that are going to switch between the modes. Actually, maybe I should probably run this first so you can see what it's like before we dive into the code. Cool. So I have these little buttons at the bottom, and I have some of the debug options turned on. You can see the origin. You can see the little anchors popping up. These used to be little yellow dots, but they made it slightly fancy in RealityKit. So like now we'll try to throw a box down, if I can detect a plane. Which it's not liking at the moment. Okay, we might have to give up on the box because I think the tracking isn't good enough. No, nice. A box on a box. I think my tolerances for the box aren't, oh, so there's a sphere. So this sphere I'm just like throwing at random in a spot in front of us, and you can see it's kind of flown off there. And then a plane, which is, I think if I find a small plane, it'll throw a plane on a plane. You'll see what I mean in a sec if I can get this working. There we go. And then finally, face tracking. So I don't think it can find my face. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to detect face and then place 3D objects on it. And yeah. Oh well. Right, so back to the code. So like that's I have buttons that set the modes, and we'll see what the different modes do. So to set up a RealityKit file, it's actually really easy. As you saw before, to start one from scratch, you start an AR view. I've turned on some debug options. And from there, it's like this is kind of just code to go, like just reset up the experience. So it's like the configurations, like you was saying before, you set up a configuration. And some of them, most of them I have the world tracking configuration. Some of them I have plane detection going on. Can also do tracking. Can also do other ones like body tracking and stuff. So that's configuration that I set, and that's kind of putting it into an AR experience or looking for and stuff. And then we go ahead and start adding anchors. So let's take a look at the most simple one, which is the box. So the box is loading from a Reality Composer file, which is started by default. So that's the experience RC project like we saw before. And we're just loading that up. The experience file gives you an anchor with an entity attached to it. So it's kind of like an all-in-one type of thing. And all you got to do is just attach it to the scene, and you're done. That's basically all you have to do. For other things, like if we want to do a little bit more manually, so if we look at the sphere, I'm just creating an anchor entity, just placing it, I think this is 0.3 meters in front and to the side. Then I go ahead and generate the sphere, so making material, so it should be a bright metallic red, and then I throw it on a sphere that's 0.2 meters in radius, and then I throw it like 1 meter in front of me, and I go ahead and add it into the scene. It's super easy. Adding a plane is also pretty easy, so I'm just creating an anchor entity, and it's saying this should go on a horizontal plane. I set some minimum bounds of how big the plane should be at a minimum in order for it to place the anchor. And then I'm loading this from a USDZ file, so I can just do anchor entity or entity.load, the name of the USDZ file, which I have in my project right here, and then go ahead and add it to the scene. And then, yeah, and then of course the face anchor stuff, we've seen that before with Yuma's talk, and that one is just, this one I'm just like placing it in a position. So super fancy, I'm just creating 2 spheres and placing it on the eyes. Yeah, I wish that would have worked. So yeah, as you can see, it's really easy to use RealityKit, even if you're just using drawing your own primitives like spheres. You can load it from a USDZ file. And yeah. Let's see, how much time do I have? No. Oh, okay. So maybe what I'll do real quick is just show off. So we've seen the plane detection. We've seen it showing, like throwing the sphere in front of us. The face detection. They also have body detection as well, which is really cool. So that one I'll use Apple's demo. So does anyone want to volunteer to be my body model? Any takers? You want to be my body model? Yeah. So all you got to do is. Welcome back. Sorry?
Do you run Catalina?
Yes.
That's why.
Okay. Can I AirPlay directly from the... Unable to connect to TV. iOS 13.1? You know, it might be because I'm doing that. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. All right, so that one is, so this is Apple's sample code to do body detection. So if we see and check out Yuma here, it's it's actually detecting multiple bodies. So you could maybe stand over here a bit. Yeah, awesome. So now we can see that it's placed a body double. So this is just, it's actually like really simple code to do this, and it's a little bit there, but yeah, it's actually detecting his movement in real time and moving the model with him. So yeah, pretty cool. Thanks for that. Cool. And so the nice things about RealityKit that it gives you is like the body tracking is really easy to do. It also gives you things for free like people occlusion. So you might have seen this with the AirKit 3 things where like if you have a 3D object that moves behind a person, it will automatically like try to occlude. Before with AirKit 2, like you could see the 3D models that were still behind a person, but now it's doing machine learning smartness and stuff to make sure the person stays in front of the 3D object. So that all comes for free. So that's really neat. Oh, it's on. Awesome. Cool. So maybe we'll just take a quick look at what that looks like. And so that one is just, it's starting a AR session. It's loading an entity, and they're actually doing fancy async loading here, which is important because if you have a complex object, it can take a little while to load. But once they have the entity, they go ahead and start its body configuration, I think. Yeah, body tracking configuration. And then in the delegate methods, it says, when I update anchors, then I make sure I move I'm placing the character next to who I'm detecting, and then I'm orienting the character with the body anchor, and the rotation, making sure they're oriented correctly. And that's pretty much it. So that was all the code that's really needed to do fancy body tracking. Cool. So some resources. So that Apple has made 2 videos available on introducing RealityKit and building apps with RealityKit. Would highly suggest watching both of these if you're interested in using RealityKit and doing AR. I put a link to a talk I did previously on USDZs. So obviously now that if you want to use RealityKit, you can't use SCENEKIT and stuff, so you have to import USDZs and things. And so did a little talk about how USDZs are like, and it's actually kind of still similar. I mean, they don't actually bundle it with Xcode anymore. You download a separate Python toolset, and then you can run the command line tool to do USDZ conversions. And then there's also some websites online where you can kind of upload up a 3D object, and they kind of will email you eventually when they convert it to USDZ. So that's another option. I've uploaded the demo app that I was just showing off. That's up on GitHub. There's a link there. And then hopefully I might get to doing a blog post about this as well. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks.
All right, we'll now have a short 5-10 minute break. Please grab yourself another beverage and go to the bathroom, come back, and we will kick off some short interviews. Cheers.
I
ran off with this.
Awesome.
much. Do you enjoy this part? Okay, cool. Split up as to what was pre-done and what was live done. And so impressed.
We need 2 firms.
All right, everyone, if we could please take a seat. We will kick off the next round of presentation. And if I could please ask Nabila to join me on the stage.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So hopefully most of you met Nabila on the way in. She is our amazing greeter, one of our core volunteers at CocoaHeads. So for this session, just going to be 3 short 10-minute interviews, knowing about how the people that I'm interviewing got into tech, how they learn about CocoaHeads, how they find CocoaHeads, and some bonus questions at the end. So to get started, what's your name? Where do you work?
So my name, as you can see, Nabila, and I'm actually one of the junior iOS developer in Itty Apps. Itty Apps is mobile app consulting based in Melbourne.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're a junior iOS developer then?
Yes.
Awesome. How long have you been at Itty Apps?
I actually started my full-time permanent work 2018? No, actually 2017 November. But previously I've had some work experience in Itty Apps. That's actually how I get my full-time job after I graduate from uni.
Awesome.
Yes.
So how did you come to learn about CocoaHeads?
So it started from, I actually never knew about CocoaHeads before. I never knew there's an iOS meetup happening in Melbourne. But 2 years ago, I met Sean. He was actually my mentor. And I told Sean I actually want to learn or know about iOS development industry in Melbourne. And he actually brought me here. And it was one of the best opportunity to learn what is happening in Melbourne, in terms of iOS development stuff. And network with other people as well. I actually made some friends in here. So, yeah.
Awesome. So you arrived, so your first time at CocoaHeads, you were not working at Itty Apps, or you were?
No, I wasn't working at Itty Apps yet. So it was around 2016, so way before I have my full-time job.
Yeah. How did you find that first experience coming into CocoaHeads? In 2016, we may have been in this room, or we were at RMIT.
Actually, it was in this room.
It was in this room? Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you find that first time experience coming into this room?
Honestly, it was pretty intimidating because even though I've learned a bit about iOS development, but I don't really have much experience in it. And when I came to one of the talk, they were talking about RX Swift, and at that point, I don't know anything at all about RX Swift or even any experience with reactive programming. So when the person was doing their presentation and some people ask questions about RX Swift, I feel like I was really out of the loop. Like, ooh, what is happening here? What are they talking about? Yeah. But so far, because ever since then, I tried to be updated about what's happening in iOS development, like the news, following the news about WWDC, and actually follow on Twitter some of iOS developer here in Melbourne. I start to know about relevant stuff.
Nice. How have you found that CocoaHeads has changed since that first visit to now?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned before, I find it was really intimidating because I feel like I really don't understand anything that they were talking about, and most people that I see is like, senior people who already have like 5 years or 6 years experience, and I was, only learned iOS like about Swift, and some people here were already in the industry ever since Objective-C days, but actually, if you all don't know, starting this year, CocoaHeads have a diversity and inclusion meeting. CocoaHeads actually received some feedback regarding how the environment is not really welcoming to some people, which I experienced it myself. And I was in that meeting and also voice out my opinion and what was my experience coming here for the first time. And which is why we're starting doing name tags. So we give blue stickers for newcomers to feel welcome, to find any newcomers nearby as well. And we also reserve slot for, junior talks. So even though some of the talks here are quite advanced, having some junior or beginner talk can make other people feel welcome, make other people feel like they are relevant, they belong here. So, yeah.
Nice. One of my favorite changes since coming back to new CocoaHeads has definitely been the greeters. My first time at CocoaHeads, walking into the room, the library room at RMIT was extremely daunting and intimidating, and I could see that happening time and time again. So yeah, big round of applause to our greeters.
Yeah, so I gotta be honest, I'm actually the kind of person who easily forgets about people's names, so having a name tag here is good.
So this is all just because you can't remember my name?
Yeah,
okay.
Not your name, some people's name here, which I will not mention.
Nice. No, I've learnt Sean's name finally. Yeah. All right, so a bit more of a background for yourself. Whereabouts did you grow up and how did you get introduced to tech?
So I actually grew up in Indonesia. I was born and raised there till I was 18 and then moved here for university. Actually, my family are not really tech savvy, but I was introduced to computer when I was around 3 or 4 years old. So like my dad taught me how to use like Microsoft Word, learning how to type. Ever since then, I was hooked into computer games, and there are times when I was younger, I want to buy games, but my parents don't allow me, so I actually pirated, and yeah, disclaimer.
That is being live streamed.
Yeah, disclaimer, I don't do that anymore after learning how hard it is to build a software, but there were the times when I pirated and tried to find like key generator and cracked. Yeah.
So what led you to choose to come to Australia and study, was it RMIT?
Yeah, I studied computer science. So ever since I was 15, I already know that I want to work in IT industry. So I researched what sort of degree that I can take to get me into IT industry, and it was IT or computer science. And what makes me choose Australia? It was actually not really my decision, it was my parents' decision. They thought that Australia has better education than my hometown, Indonesia, but honestly, moving to Australia is one of the best decisions I've ever made. People are very friendly, I've made lots of friends in here, I can see some of your faces here. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. We'll wrap up with the final question. Now I've stolen this from the Lift podcast. Not the unexpected question that you're not prepared for. Okay. The one that you are prepared for. Mm-hmm. What is one of your, what's a tool that you use or a productivity life hack that you use? That could be anything from eating raw eggs in the morning or doing git alias for a command line.
Okay. Some people may hate me. I actually don't use git alias at all. And I have some people who use my machine and they were frustrated that I don't have any git alias. But to compensate that, I actually have Git client. I use Git Teller. But in the past, I've used Sosri. I think Git Teller is the best, personally. You mentioned about what do I do in the morning or... Sorry, what was the question before? You want to ask my morning routine or?
Oh no, that was if you had a life hack that wasn't technical.
Oh, life hack. Life hack that
You don't have to answer that. Are you a morning person?
Oh, no.
No, okay.
Not at all.
That's good enough.
I find that I'm most productive at night, actually, yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's give it up for Nabila. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay,
If I could please ask Sean to join me on the stage. The microphone is on.
Hello.
Cool. So Sean works with me at REA.
Hi, Pete.
Sean, How you doing? What's your name? Where do you work? Which I've just answered for you. And what do you do?
So I'm currently the mobile tech lead at REA. What I do basically these days not particularly interesting. So I basically go around different meeting room, talking, whiteboarding, not so much coding. Yes.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
So, similar line of questioning. How many times have you been to CocoaHeads?
So this is the second time I've been to CocoaHead in Australia. I've been to CocoaHead before when I was in Hong Kong. I originally from Hong Kong. So CocoaHead is like quite big worldwide. So it's like there's one in Hong Kong, so I used to go. And then this is my second time that I've been to in Melbourne.
So you came last month?
I came, about 3 years ago?
Nice.
Yes.
So you came 3 years ago?
Yep.
Clearly had a wonderful time.
Well, I can talk a little bit about that. So what happened last time, I remember that was in the Outwear office. So I walk in, there's no air conditioning. It's pretty warm. And then I don't know why they stopped serving cold drinks, so there's only like warm drink available. So I started sitting there, listening to the first talk with my warm drink and no air conditioning. I started feeling a little bit dizzy and really suffocating, and that's why I decided, okay, this is not for me. Yes.
Nice. Awesome. So, beyond CocoaHeads, you're at REA, you're mobile tech lead, did you say?
Yes.
Yes. You said that you grew up in Hong Kong?
Yes, I grew up in
So you grew up in Hong Kong. How did you get from growing up in Hong Kong to mobile tech lead at REA?
Oh, that is a very long story. So I started getting my first computer around the age of 17. It's like a 486 running Windows 3.1.
So you said 7? Or
17.
17.
Yes.
At the age of 17.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So that might be revealing a little bit of my age. So, and from that point onward, I got really passionate about user interface, even though it's Windows 3.1. When I say I'm really passionate about it, what I mean by that is that I really love changing my wallpaper, my icons, and changing the toolbar and stuff like that.
Must have blown your mind.
So the way I changed it is like, because back then I can't really afford a Macintosh, and everyone said Macintosh is amazing. So I tried all my best to change my Windows 3.1 to look like a Mac OS, basically. Changing all the icons, even having that little interesting menu bar at the top. Yeah, that is pretty fun. Modifying the System32, modifying the whatever INI file they have in Windows.
I'm sure your computer booted every time.
Well, I can't remember how many times I reinstalled it, yes. Using the disk. Yes.
So in Hong Kong, you're mucking around with Windows, modifying the UI. Did you then go, I want to develop for Apple products? What happened in between?
So what happened in between is I went into uni and started studying internet and multimedia technology. So, because I really got passionate about something visual. So with that program in uni, I basically got to learn a little bit about 3D modeling, filmmaking, audio editing, and a bit of like game development and stuff like that. But then after uni, I went into my first career with something very different. So I ended up working in a private bank, sitting not in the IT department, but in a trading department with a bunch of stockbroker. So if you have ever seen like people working on the trading floor in exchange, the yelling, throwing paper, that's exactly where I used to work.
Did you throw paper?
I got thrown.
People threw paper
Yes,
at you.
Exactly.
That is amazing. I've got lots of questions about that
so,
for another time.
Yes. So at some point, someone gave me like an Excel spreadsheet that can actually trade stock into the exchange. So I used my power because I know a little bit about programming. I can do VB6. So with Excel spreadsheet, so I started doing my own trading and trading for the client. Make a few mistakes, lost a few million, stuff like that.
Lost a few million.
And So that got to the point that I understand that, you know what, I need to do this a little bit more properly. I need to join a proper team and learn how to build software in scale. So I did that for 6 years, continued working in banks. And then meanwhile, iPhone came out. So I bought my first iPhone, iPhone 3G? So with the first SDK. So I really love doing, having these user interface on my hand. So that's why I bought the phone. Hopefully I can write some app that can work for myself. So I started looking into the documentation, how to write an app, Objective-C back then, obviously. So I read those documents with all these square brackets. I thought that they're just like notation, like bold, italic. I don't really understand what they are, because I came from a background that I used to do a lot of Java and .NET. So that syntax just completely alien to me. And then further looking into like how to do interface, drag and drop in interface builder, and then, oh, you know what, you actually need to hold your mouse and then drag this line from your code to your IP. It's like, oh, I don't actually know what I'm doing. So I gave up actually. so I gave up, can't deal with that, too hard. And 2 months later, as I continue using my iPhone, I found it, oh, you know what, this thing is amazing. I really, really want to invest some time to write my own app. There's something I really want to have on that phone. So there's like again, going back to it, just like take it more seriously, actually doing it. Okay, I'm committed to it and do it. So yeah, so I used to do that after work. So I still have my day job, and then after my day job at night, I would just like sit in front of my Mac and start doing a lot of these, and really enjoyed that time. So it was a really fun time.
Nice. So you have a long background
Yes.
as a professional developer who didn't start out their career with even the iPhone into existence. Then you made the jump into mobile development. Was REA your first mobile role?
Actually, it is. So after working in the banking environment for 6 years, I decided that that's not for me, and I moved to Australia. So I joined ThoughtWorks to start with. So ThoughtWorks is quite diverse, but they somehow ended up finding out that I can write apps, so started putting me on doing a lot of mobile app projects. So I work with Domino's, Woolworths, and NBN, Target, and then, so that was back in Sydney, and then I moved to Melbourne afterwards, and the first client that they sent me to is to Geelong. So I worked from Melbourne to Geelong commuting for a year. And then after that, it's like, you know what, I can't do that anymore. So it's like, and then somehow REA was looking for people. It's like, oh, you know what, I'm going to join REA. I heard that it's a really great company, great culture. So that was like my first full-time mobile role as a mobile developer.
Nice, awesome. That's a pretty incredible journey.
Yeah,
for someone that
pretty fun.
is now a mobile tech lead that just wants to change wallpapers on their iPhone. That's what you go to all these meetings for, yes?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. One question for someone who has a background in non-mobile development. Do you see, this is my opinion, do you see mobile engineers kind of coming across as like the first time they're coming up against UI problems, UI developer design patterns and stuff like this?
It's very interesting. I think it's just history repeating itself. So even before the iOS development, this idea of like building apps, like very stable apps with a lot of model, that kind of thing, that happened before the iOS or mobile time. So all these patterns that people are debating about these days, MVC, MVP, MVVM, whatever it is, it's all before the iOS time. So that happened. So, and then you see that mobile started, and then people going down that same path to talk about that same thing again and again and again. And it's like, yeah, pretty interesting. But one of the big shifts I've seen in recent years is like a lot of the functional programming concept got picked up again, and those paradigm becomes quite interesting. It's something I think that wasn't really applicable in the past because of technology and the limitation of those languages.
Awesome. All right, wrapping up, final question, same question as before.
Yep.
A productivity tool or life hack?
I don't really have any tools, but I actually have think about it the opposite way. Never use a reminder app. And if I cannot remember that means it's not important enough. Just forget about it. If it's really important, it will come back to you again, so you don't need a reminder app.
This explains so many meetings that you have not attended. Awesome. Thank you very much, Sean. That's a wrap. Finally, we have up Tony Arnold.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining me, Tony.
You're very welcome.
I just need to change the slides because we are going to make you reverse a red-black trick. No, we're not going to make you do interview questions. That would be cruel and unusual punishment. So what's your name, where do you work, and what do you do?
Hey everybody, I'm Tony. I work at Itty Bitty Apps. I'm lead developer on Reveal. Mainly I do macOS development, but my role at Itty Bitty involves product development, sales and support, and at the moment I'm doing web development as well. So a little bit of everything, whatever needs to happen to keep the app running, basically.
Nice. So my understanding is that you don't actually live and work in Melbourne.
Hell no.
Hell no. Get out. No. So whereabouts do you live?
I come from a planet far, far away.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, Newcastle in New South Wales. So,
nice. So you don't frequent embody CocoaHeads a lot?
No.
No, but you're very active in the Slack and you watch live streams?
I make a lot of noise.
You make a lot of noise?
Yeah. I do tend to watch the live streams as well when I can. Yeah.
Nice. So primarily Mac work at Itty Bitty Apps. You love Melbourne. You wish you lived here.
I don't believe those are the words that come out.
I'm pretty sure we could check the live stream. That is what you said. So did you grow up in Newcastle?
No, I grew up on the south coast of New South Wales in a little town called Kiama, so like a little beach village. Nice. It's a bit of a tourist hotspot now, but when I was growing up it was like a really small, just like a surfing community, I guess.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Nice and quiet.
And how did you get into tech? How did you get from growing up in this tiny little town to where you are now?
I was lucky enough. My dad at the time was a high school teacher. So every holidays he was allowed to bring the computers that they had at school, one of them home for us to use for the holidays. So he would bring home, I think at the start it was like an Apple I or an Apple II, and mainly used it for playing games, but had a bit of a fiddle around with old Turtle Basic and making a little arrow go around the screen and that sort of stuff. But I think I knew from really early on that that's what I wanted to do. So all throughout school, obviously here in Australia, we had a lot of Macs in the education system. And I think just being exposed to that, there was a pivotal point, I think, in my early years in high school where we were just starting to get into multimedia presentations on CD and DVD. So I think Wollongong Uni just put out Lyco Luca, and Mist had just come out from Cyan, what are they called? Cyan? I can't remember what they were called at the time, but like these amazing leaps forward in media production and computers used for gaming, and I guess not the traditional kind of Twitch gaming that we were all into, but a bit deeper. And I just knew at that point that that's what I wanted to do. So I kind of set out on that path, and I was incredibly lucky. I was all set to, when I finished high school, to go off to uni up on the north coast of New South Wales to do, I think, educational multimedia was the course. And in the 2 weeks before I was meant to go and find somewhere to live up there, an internship came up at Wollongong Uni, a very, very close team to the one that had actually built that Lyco Luca DVD, or CD at the time. And it was, at the time, it was my dream job. It was the only place I'd ever really wanted to work. And, you know, they had all the cool gear, all the latest Macs and the most expensive gear, most expensive stuff and big screens. And I mean, you've got to remember at the time, like colour monitors at home were not a huge thing. So colour screen at work, it was amazing. You know, we got to play with all kinds of stuff. They had B-boxes and Sun workstations and, you know, SGI Indigo stuff for the 3D rendering. And I got exposed to this whole range of stuff. That some of it was programming, but other bits of it were, you know, things like 3D modelling and rendering for TV production, and a lot of web design. I got really into the web stuff as part of that internship. And kind of just progressed from there. So I went into web development from there and looked after systems admin for some various things. And I realised a few years into that I wasn't really enjoying the visual aspects of it, and started to get more and more into the programming side of things. Kind of made a choice at one point that I was halfway through a visual communication bachelor's degree that actually, you know what, I really love UI, really love visuals, but I wanted to program and I wanted to be in the nuts and bolts and making these things work. So I kind of changed tack and I started ruining other people's open source projects on SourceForge. Getting stuck in and downloading their stuff and submitting patches and having them tell me go away, learn to program before you come back. So I just kind of, really just threw myself into it and figured stuff out for myself. I was lucky to work with a group of people who, were application developers working on, I guess, bigger scale enterprise level stuff, and they were able to expose me to concepts like object programming and I guess more formal programming than I was used to. And it kind of snowballed from there. So the open source stuff really turned into my introduction into contributing to things, and there were a few really early projects. I think most of them were around virtual desktops. So there was a product called Virtue Desktops that I took over when the author decided he didn't want to make it anymore. And that was really my first introduction to kind of managing a product and contributing to it and programming it and really getting serious about, Mac programming especially. And built some other little small tools at the time, things like, I don't know if you guys remember back on the original MacBooks that had spinny hard disks that had the sudden motion sensors in them. So I built a little utility where you could smack one side of the screen and it would flip the desktop in that direction and smack it into the side and flip back the other way, and completely useless, but God, it was fun. And kind of snowballed from there. I think I released a commercial product 2006, 2007, I think around somewhere around there. And it went reasonably well, and I got a reasonably good reputation out of that, and just contributing to projects. So it kind of went on from there. I freelanced for a number of years after that point, and doing iOS and macOS work, and eventually got pulled into itty bitty apps.
So that first exposure to a large-scale project or working with multiple individuals was an open source project. And those individuals were remote and people that you couldn't face-to-face with. That's amazing. I didn't know that. That sounds so challenging, especially, like, I'm guessing there obviously wasn't Slack, there wasn't quick comms, it would have
been ICQ, MSN. I think back when iChat used to be good, that was great for talking to people. You could drag and drop images in, and at the time, you got to remember, now we don't think twice about FaceTiming someone, but back then, being able to chat instantly with someone via instant messenger was a game changer. Yeah,
nice. So your first your first company exposure to working on a large product was itty bitty apps?
Yeah. I think I'd worked on a few contracts and freelance projects on other things, but being a team member, being part of a team, I think itty bitty apps, the first big one.
Nice. And how long have you worked at itty bitty apps for?
2014? Yeah, don't look at Sean. He doesn't remember either. 2014, I think, was when I started. So, been there a few years now.
That's amazing. So, working remotely, you're not wearing pants?
Most of the time. Actually, you know what? I'll be honest here. I've never not worn pants on a video chat. Everybody wants to ask that.
Yeah.
I've done the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I always wear tracksuit pants in winter. Nobody can tell what you're wearing underneath the desk, so you might as well be comfy.
It's funny, Maddie, my wife, asks me every time I'm working from home, why are you dressing up? They can only see here up. I still dress up. I still shower. I still brush my teeth. I still put on my work-ish clothes, which is what you see now.
I'm obviously overly confident, Pete.
Nice. What are some of the greatest benefits or challenges of working remotely?
Okay, so working remotely is not easy. It sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. I get to work from home, turn my music up as loud as I want, and wear whatever the hell I want. If I'm not talking to anybody for a day, I can work in my pajamas. But realistically, you've got to be really structured in how you approach your day. I had it so good, and then I had kids, and it just got absolutely impossible. You have to be almost more regimented in how you structure your day, how you approach problems, how you deal with things. Because the big benefit of being at home, obviously, is getting to spend, for me anyway, getting to spend time with my kids, seeing them grow up, being there when things go right or wrong, and not, not getting home after dinner at night. Like, it's lovely, but it does mean that for me to still do the job that I'm paid to do, I've got to work a little bit harder to make those, those hours meet, I guess. So big challenges is just being focused, being structured in how you approach problems.
I personally find that so fascinating. The few times I've worked from home, my infant can't walk or talk, still massive distraction. And you've got 3 little ones?
Yeah. They surprisingly join me rarely on FaceTimes with work, but I think the guys have met a couple of them a few times over video calls. Yeah.
Okay. We'll wrap up with the final question. Productivity tool or life hack?
This is going to sound incredibly cliched.
Cliche.
Life hack.
Life hack.
I'm going to borrow a line from a very old Time Lord friend of mine. Be kind. Have empathy for the people that you're dealing with in your job, and you'll get things done twice as fast as you would if you didn't. So if you can understand the other side of the problem and understand where another person's sitting and how they feel about it, and be kind to them when you're asking them for something or asking them to do something for you, you're going to get a much better response, and it's going to go a lot quicker than if you just say, hey, I need this, get it to me. So that's my life hack anyway. Be nice to everyone.
That's awesome. As someone who knows Tony quite well, he is extremely kind and in person,
just not on Twitter.
Lovely guy. Just not on Twitter. Ask him about Catalyst on Twitter. It's hilarious. No. Massive round of applause for Tony. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pete.
No worries. Cheers. All right, so that's a wrap for the evening. Let me put up the next set of slides. All right, thank you everyone for coming this evening. Here are the links where you can find out all of the extra information. The site, the meetup, the Slack, the Twitter account, and where you'll find the live stream after the fact. Again, upcoming events. We'll just present that slide, not going to read through it. Hack night, drink nights, breakfast, Dev Fest, the November meetup. Now, before we go off to the pub, again, massive round of applause to our sponsors, Cognizant, Itty Bitty Apps, Domestic Cat, and thank you very much. Massive round of applause. Right, if I could ask a massive favour and everyone to put your rubbish in the bins, and that's it. All right, after that, clean up, go to the pub. Thank you very much, everyone.